Season 5, Episode 53 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bit Stealers. I am Sam Fetterman. That is Jonathan Linskin. Jonathan, how you doing tonight?
I am just, I'm wonderful. Despite the fact that Mizzou just blew it wasn't a sizable lead, but we'll get to that.
Speaking of fans who are angry, Riley Davis is here. Riley, how you doing tonight? Welcome to the podcast for the first time somehow.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me on. I wish it was under better circumstances, but it's fine. I don't know, man.
Obviously, we'll get to other stuff later. We have a jam-packed show for you. 4 guests, Riley, then Grant Salzman, Trevor McGee, and Jack Morgan. Jack's probably more distraught than you are, Riley. His Duquesne Dukes were awful tonight. But then we'll get to UConn. We'll get to all that stuff after this. Wake Forest 67, North Carolina 66. Wake Forest led for pretty much all of the for most of the second half. They led by 10 with 10 minutes left. They got a big performance from Cam Hildreth. It was not the best day for Hunter Salas. It was not the best day for North Carolina's leading scorer over the last couple of weeks, Ian Jackson. Riley, where did it go wrong for the Tar Heels tonight?
Man, where do I even start, Sam? Thanks again for having me on. I'll be a little positive. Yeah, happy to talk hoops with y'all, but this was just a really ugly basketball game. Hard to watch all around. I think there was 27 combined fouls called in the first half. Somehow Carolina wasn't able to get into the paint at all in the second, wasn't able to draw any fouls. They took a lot of threes because Wake, they packed it in basically, like their defensive scheme. They packed it in, dared Carolina to beat them with jumpers, and they probably missed like 7 to 8 uncontested threes in a row. It just like nothing would fall. I can't really say anyone played well in this one other than Elliot Cadeau. Finished, I think, with 15, 12, and 5. Like he
was 13 assists on the last shot to RJ Davis.
13 is, he was – Carolina wouldn't have been in a position to win if it wasn't for him. I know he had a bad turnover down the stretch where he tried to split a double team. That's still – it's like those little things that still, I don't know, drive me crazy where it's like, how do you string together – there's probably 6 or 7 minutes left in the game at that point. It's like you've played well for 30 minutes. Like what happens? And honestly, that's kind of what it's felt like the story of North Carolina's season. They talked about on the broadcast where I think this was their 9th one-possession game this year, and they will build leads. They'll blow them in the final 3 minutes, or they'll get down by double digits and they'll cut the lead to 1, or maybe even take the lead and then blow it in the final 4 minutes. Like the late game execution continually creeps up and bites this team when it can afford it least. But even before it got to late game, like to crunch time, like Carolina was just breaking everything. And I don't know. I think like Hubert broke out some new sets that we haven't seen ran all year, which I thought was nice. I don't know why. I'd like to see them earlier in the game, but I don't know. I don't claim to be an X's and O's guru by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't always know how it works, but it just feels like something needs to be adjusted more quickly when they're just bricking a bunch of threes and you can't figure out ways to get downhill because of the way like Wake is taking driving lanes away, helping one pass away. You got to find ways to counter it, and then on top of it, Carolina's now had back-to-back bad Ian Jackson games, which sort of seemed unfathomable a week ago.
Yeah, we kind of said, we've been saying it all season, if one of those Carolina guards plays bad, they could lose to, pretty much any decent team. And like it's been the story of the year. They don't get anything from their bigs. That's not going to change. So, I don't think that like Hubert has done a terrible job this year from an in-game standpoint. But this is the roster he has to work with. And probably, roster construction does fall on the coach. No doubt about it. He's taken a lot of criticism for it, and rightfully so. Mm-hmm. But, if these guards are all playing to their strengths and making shots and sharing the ball, they're a dangerous team, but a lot like you can't rely on Cadeau, Davis, Trimble, Ian Jackson all being excellent in every single game.
Trimble has struggled.
He's been really rough since he came back from injury. Like I don't know what happened to him. Like he's a shell of himself. He's not getting into the paint anymore. He blew a layup around the basket. Like a stat that I think tells the story of the game from a Carolina perspective: 8 for 21 on layups. They missed a lot of bunnies at the rim. And I'm with you, Jonathan. I've been critical of Hubert this year. I think that the roster construction issues are real. The misevaluations of players are very real, whether it's Cade Tyson or Van Allen Lubin, who were recruited to play roles that they're not capable of. But on one end tonight, it's like they got some open looks. They got plenty of open looks from beyond the arc. And granted, I know I would like to see some adjustments. I'm not the coach. I don't know what those need to be like to do something different. But yeah, this is like I would say there's equal blame to be spread here. It's not like Hubert just called a terrible game, but I just it's just the latest installment of where you see how many holes there are on this roster to where, yeah, it's back-to-back games where they couldn't afford an off night from Ian Jackson. And you just would think, like, based on how Seth Trimble played to start the year before this injury, they could afford one of the guards having an off night because it seemed like either Cadeau or Trimble or Davis, one of the three would pick up the slack. Then on top of it, too, it looks like Drake Powell might have hit a little bit of a wall. He was another player who missed a couple bunnies, too. He's shooting 41% on the year from three, and he went 0 for tonight. So just like all around poor offensive performance when the defense was good enough, like it was against Stanford, save for that last possession, to get the win, and the offense is just letting them down.
Yeah, Riley, I mentioned this to you, and we were kind of talking about this before Jonathan got in here. It's like the Trayvon Spillers factor. North Carolina doesn't have the equalizer, the guy that can go up there and just even the game on the glass, even the game down low. And it doesn't even have to be a 5-man. Like, it's not, they just don't have any front court presence whatsoever that can physically control a game the way that Spillers can. You were like, what? Like, North Carolina should not be getting punked by an App State transfer. And like, yeah, he punked dudes at App State. He punked the Sun Belt. He punks dudes in the ACC. But if I told you that, like, Roy Williams teams didn't get punked, Roy Williams teams were punking guys. This North Carolina team is really talented with their guards. But when Trimble's struggling coming back from injury, when Jackson's got an off night, you really need RJ Davis to basically be last year's RJ Davis. And when he's not giving you just the most reliable bucket ever, you're not going to win games because you don't have enough down low to deal with guys like Spillers and to deal with Efton Reed and to keep guys like Cam Hildreth off the foul line. Wake Forest attempted 27 free throws in this game, and it didn't even become like a huge foul fest at the end. It came a little bit of a foul fest, but not a huge one. So
Can I at least complain about the refs in the first half? They're calling everything.
Okay, I mean, like, that's fair. Like, that happens.
Let me be a homer and say Cam Hildreth also got some very favorable calls. That's the one thing I'll say. Then I can admit when my team struggles. They were not good tonight, but it was very frustrating, like seeing them.
Yeah, I mean,
keep Cam Hildreth on
but
the line.
North Carolina did not deserve to win this game by any stretch of the imagination. Regardless of the officiating. The officiating can be good, it can be bad. North Carolina is 12-8. If I told you that on November 3rd, what would be your reaction?
Man, I feel like that's worse than what I thought the worst case scenario would be. I like going back to this the preseason. I think I ranked them 15th going into the year. I had questions about the front court as did everybody, but I did sort of think there was a chance there was like some implosion potential, which maybe that doesn't end up happening. Like there's still time for them to right the ship, but even like it kind of hit me this offseason that I didn't know who Carolina's second best player was after RJ Davis. And it's turned out like Ian Jackson's been that for most of the year, I would say. But, you know, freshmen have ebbs and flows throughout the season. I don't know. If you had told me that on November, I probably would have assumed like Jackson underachieved, Cadeau still can't shoot, and the bigs were worse than we envisioned. And I don't know if that's really the case. Like, I think Cadeau,
the big part is.
Yeah, the bigs. Okay, that part is true. The bigs have been
like they have gotten absolutely nothing from that position. Like Lubin has been a nothing. Mm-hmm. Claude has been basically unplayable.
Yep.
And Washington had the dumbest goaltend I've ever seen.
Yeah, for some reason, our Big South big, Ty Claude, like, why didn't we get Trayvon Spillers? If we're going to get a Big South big, why didn't we get the one who went to Wake Forest?
Justin Absent is playing like 7 minutes a game at Georgia. Well, he's playing like 17. But like Justin Absent is the piece that North Carolina needs.
They need anybody who can guard and be physical and at least finish a dunk or something. Yeah. I think the bigs are about the worst case scenario. I think Cade Tyson has been. I don't want to pile on him because I know he takes a lot of heat from Carolina fans, but it's
hasn't worked. Even
in a worst case scenario for Cade, like I expected him to at least give you like 15 a game and just be a sniper coming off the bench. But I mean, he looks like a shell of himself. He had a really bad brick tonight. Yeah, everything about that, like it. I don't know. When I watch this team play, and it's crazy to say this when Cadeau finished with 13 assists, but there's not a lot of chances at easy offense. They look good. Even when they get in transition, there was, whether it was RJ or whether it was Seth in this game, a lot of transition possessions. Neither of them were making a pass. Like, there were wide open dudes. Like, there was a couple of RJ possessions where he had Ian running the break next to him who was open who could have got an easy look at the basket. He just didn't pass it. Like, it's frustrating to watch. It's, we talked about how, like I said, I can't believe an App State player is punking UNC. And you said he punks everyone. Like, Trayvon Spillers is good, but it's just at Carolina, there's a standard, and the standard is not being met.
Yeah.
Last thing I really have to say.
The good news for North Carolina is they play against a CAA team this weekend.
Also true. They will.
Boston College. Yep, the other CAA team.
Either one works.
No, Virginia Tech's a SoCon team. Boston College is a CAA. There's levels.
What I said in the preseason was BC's an A10 team, Virginia Tech's a CAA team.
I can't believe you gave Boston College A10.
I mean, they had Chad Venning, so
they're closer to a MAC school than an A10 school.
Well, now they are. I also didn't realize that Deion Brown would forget how to play basketball.
Yeah. I'd have to go back and read. I did a deep dive on all these all the mid-major
once Virginia Tech lost Hygier Miller, that roster legitimately looked like a CAA roster.
And Jordan Ivy Curry. Never forget he was there too.
Jordan Ivy Curry, Virginia Tech legend. Man,
how much better would speaking of Virginia Tech, a defector from Virginia Tech, how much better would this Carolina team be if they had Tyler Nickel in the Cade Tyson role? What Cade Tyson was recruited for?
Ooh,
good call.
All right, Riley. That's a really good one. Do you have anything else to say?
I love Ian Jackson still. He's my favorite player on this Carolina team. Keep
right there.
What'd you say?
It's a New York guard right there.
Yes, he is a New York guard. Keep your head up, Cap. We believe in you. Shake it off. You're not going to shoot like that again. You'll get right against BC. I don't know. The ACC is bad enough. This Carolina, like, I know sometimes I speak on my emotions when the fan in me comes out, Sam. That's just me being honest with you. But
it happens to us all.
There's still, like, because the ACC is, we're talking about these teams that legitimately have mid-major looking rosters. The ACC is bad enough where Carolina can still have opportunities to salvage this. I mean, shoot, Kim Pop has them projected at 19-13 now. I don't know if that's getting to the tournament, but I don't know. We'll see.
One win at Duke, or one win either at home against Duke or at Duke, changes your season. And
it's true.
Those, as we know, those games can be anything.
They gotta, if they just watching this team struggle in the half court against Wake Forest makes me very nervous for what will happen against Duke, which is like whatever size advantage Wake Forest had on the interior, multiply that by 30. But maybe that's the game. Maybe Carolina's saving their like fluky 12 or 13 made threes game for like one of the Duke games and they can get it done.
All right. Thank you, Riley. We have to bring on our next guest, and I'm going to let Jonathan intro this one.
From the Columbia, Missourian, Grant Salzman joining the pod. He is the beat writer for the Missourian Mizzou Benton's basketball.
Why did I sign off on this?
Grant, welcome to the show.
This is my idea too.
Hello, Jonathan. Hello, Sam.
Hi,
so Grant, you were Grant. It's your first time
to see me, Sam.
You've
It is
made
my first
appearances
time on
on
the
this
show.
podcast before, not as a guest.
No,
I
no.
just-
Grant has made many appearances with his Dick Vitale impression and whatnot. He's
UCLA wins.
a definitive friend of the program. But Grant, how does it feel to be on the show for the first time?
It's an honor, and I got really fired up when I saw a really important tweet this morning. I was walking back from class, really cold out, need something, to fill my spirits, and I saw the MAC tourney was just a few weeks away, so I got really, really fired up about that. Some great Metro Eastern basketball, and one of the greatest cities on earth, Atlantic City. So can't wait for
How
that.
many greatest cities on earth are there before you get to Atlantic City? I think every city on earth is the greatest city on earth before you get to Atlantic City.
I'd go at
there's
least
gambling. That's
7.
all we need.
I'd
I
go.
think you
I'd
can
go
gamble
one-
anywhere now. Why would you go to Atlantic City?
Yeah,
to do
but the
it?
thrill of
Las
doing it in
Vegas is the
person-
only place more special than Atlantic City.
All right, we brought you on to talk about a basketball game.
Grant,
Texas 61, Missouri 53. Missouri got outscored a lot to a little after the Tamar Bates poster. Mizzou 4 for 22 from 3, 41% in SEC play coming in. Grant, why were they not able to get good looks, or were they just missing easy shots?
I came in expecting a tough performance from the guards. Texas obviously has a lot of lengthy, size, athletic guards. I was actually expecting Texas's guards to do a lot of the scoring. It just seemed like neither team wanted to. Kind of knew it needed. Sam's he's out of his mind right now, but it was kind of it needed to be a Mark Mitchell game, and it was quite the opposite. 1 for 7 from the field for Mitchell. I think he had 6 points.
It was 7, yeah.
7 points, and it was just an ugly game. They were getting their shots. Caleb Grill shot some very contested shots where he can make. He made one. It was just one of those games no one wanted to make a shot. Frankly, each team could have lost that game by 30 points if the other team just made 50% of their open looks. It could have been a blowout for either side.
Yeah, I don't think that, I caught. I didn't catch the whole thing, but I caught like the last 8 to 10 minutes or so. It was not good basketball.
No, it was very bad, and
it was ugly. Guys missed open looks. There was a ton of bad boxing out and rebounding from Mizzou down the stretch, which was ultimately what lost them the game. But yeah. Like Grant, you kind of said it. Like Texas has wings that are switchable, and they can get out and guard the guys that score from Mizzou. Mark Mitchell needed to have a good game. He didn't, and I question some of the decisions that were made at the end. Obviously Dennis Gates has done a phenomenal job this year, so we're not going to rip him. But I thought the management at the end of the game was subpar to have Mark go back to Mark Mitchell at the 5.
Yes, but at the same time, Josh Gray was such a negative in the game.
Oh no, I agree with you on that one.
Offensive fouls, throwing the ball over, and I like Josh Gray. I think he adds something this team needs, but he was clearly out of sorts. And I think, John, in that situation, you're down 4, which in this game, down 4 feels like 10 points.
Yeah,
you needed your best offensive scores out there, and basically hope Texas kept missing shots. They finally went inside and started scoring, but it just was one of those, I don't know, Missouri stayed in the game with free throws in the first half. Trailing by 7 was a huge win. And then they came out and responded. It looked like they took the lead within 4 minutes. Trent Pierce hit a 3. And it kind of felt like they were going to hang on and win that game from there on. They led for the next 12 minutes, I think. Or at least did not trail for the next 12 minutes. And then kind of like Sam said, after that Tamar Bates poster, it felt like it was the opposite of what a poster should do. It woke Texas up for some reason, and the Longhorns, I think I just wrote they were on a 15-4 run.
Yeah,
Close
15-4.
Yeah,
15-4. Do you know what the bucket right before the 15-4 run started was?
it
Tamar
was
Bates
Tamar
poster.
Bates poster.
It was that made it 49-46.
Yeah.
Grant, I actually think you make a really good point about Josh Gray. he's done really well to cut his fouls this year per like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Obviously he's not a guy that's ever going to play 30, 35 minutes a game.
And he looks more slim too, a little bit, which I think helps him playing more. But
he's done a really good job late in his career to become a better basketball player and help Mizzou this year. He gives them a lot that they didn't have even 2 years ago when they went to the NCAA tournament. But yeah, no, I didn't even realize it. He plays 19 minutes tonight. Sorry, 13 minutes. Picks up 4 fouls. It was just 2 fouls. But yeah, no, it's he got in the game at the end. Like they finally put him back in, and he commits an offensive foul on a possession where Mizzou basically had to score. Like before they even got.
I also just like they got to, you get to the point where like you need to play T.O. Barrett in these minutes, and you're already screwed. Like if you have to have T.O. Barrett, like he's a freshman, he'll get there, maybe. If you have to have T.O. Barrett on the floor in crunch time minutes in the SEC, you're gone. You're not okay. You're not at the 0-19 level. He would get a lot of minutes on that team. But to be fair, a lot of guys get a lot of minutes on that team. A lot of guys did get a lot of minutes on that team.
Yeah,
I actually disagree there, Sam, because I think T.O. provides a spark even in crunch time minutes that is hard to get off of the bench. He's very good defensively.
Okay. But I saw a couple just really dumb plays from him down the stretch of this game.
I don't know.
One really bad turnover.
He did have a bad turnover, but I don't know. I think let me see if I can get his.
He gets it. He gets
the
his
numbers
mulligan
aren't awful from today. He
gets his mulligan.
The reason they lost. It's more the vessel of having to use him and not being able to play, and just not getting anything today from Perkins, not getting anything today from Robinson, not getting anything today from Grill. That's the vessel with which T.O. Barrett comes into frame. Not saying that he was the reason that they lost.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Part of the reason they lost is that they had to use him the way that they did. This is the most minutes that he has played outside of the Auburn game, which was never close all season.
3 points. He had a pair of rebounds and assists. It's not an awful stat line, but I think what I would have liked to seen, maybe not him in the last 3 minutes, but when you were going on a scoring drought, T.O.'s game is getting to the rim, and we saw him actually be able to do that twice. He scored and got fouled in the minutes he played. He's not the point. He shouldn't be a point guard out there. You should have someone like Bates or Perkins out there to lead the offense. But I like getting Barrett the ball because he did create inside, and then a couple times when he drove, he was able to get wide open dunks for the team. And I think once he went out and the offense wasn't working, I would not have hated to just give him a run. I mean, he was the only guy successfully getting to the rim, being able to use his quickness to get there. And it seemed to be working. I know he's undersized against those athletic wings and guards of Texas, but it was effective in the limited chances he got. I don't know. It was just
the fact that that's their best option in an SEC game is the problem that I'm alluding to.
He should not be, but with the nights that Bates, Perkins,
you're not going to win when your top 3 guards go 2 for 7, 2 for 4, and 1 for 6.
Sam, you know why he's like first 2 things. One, I think he deserves maybe not a mulligan, but a mulligan adjacent.
Oh, I'm not blaming him for the loss.
No. But after what he did in the Florida game,
I actually think he was very important today.
What he did in the Florida game was really good, and I think because of that he earned his chance to be out here tonight. The other thing is I don't think it's that he's their best option. Your starting point guard gets in foul trouble every game. Like Anthony Robinson has got to do a better job. He's aggressive. He fits in this system. He has to know when to pick his spots on defense because he can be the best defender in the SEC from a guard standpoint if he cuts down on the fouls.
He's a sophomore.
It feels like every game.
I want to see him play next year at Mizzou as a junior. And
he'll be all league next year.
And be like an all league first team guy.
Yeah.
Because he could go to the combine and have a good combine and maybe sneak into the draft this year. But
there's no point.
Yeah, he comes back next year and gets all SEC first team, would make a lot of money, leads Mizzou to the tournament, gets a lot better at defense, then you're looking at a draft pick for sure.
I think
he stands. I think he and also like you get a little more shooting volume out of him as well if he comes back. But that's kind of all we've kind of spent a lot of time talking about this game. Anything else to add quickly, Grant, before we move on?
Yeah, just real quick. I think we've seen Missouri win games by kind of pummeling teams. Of you look at Florida, you look at some of their other wins, they get out quick, like Arkansas, get out quick, score a bunch, Kansas, and then let the team slowly come back. But you're able to keep them at arm's length long enough that it doesn't matter. You know, you got out to that 20-point lead and you're going to win the game. Today was a game that I think they needed to play. It would have been great if they held on and won to show that they can win a game ugly, playing good defense, rebounding enough, and making your shots when you needed it. You went colder than you were the last 4 minutes, but it still showed that this Missouri team can win games even when their style isn't being implemented. Texas took away their style, and they still led for 14 minutes of the second half. So it was almost there. You barely scored. You scored 4 points in the last 5.5 minutes. If you score 8, you probably win the game. So
a large part of that game felt very reminiscent to like not even like points last year, because that's just totally not fair to this team. But like points from Gates's first year, where like they would go on the road and it's just like they had no answer sometimes.
I think we learn a lot about this team in its next 3 games: Mississippi State, and the Tennessee Volunteers. And that gives us, thank you, Grant, for coming on. And that gives us our segue right here. Trevor McGee from the Daily Beacon is with us. The Tennessee Volunteers picked up a 68-56 win over the Mississippi State Bulldogs. It was another Chaz Lanier game. It's not quite getting to the territory that it got with Dalton Connect last year, where it felt like every game he was breaking a new record. But it was around this time last year that stretch really started. Chaz Lanier, 5 threes today, 4 threes in his last game. It's his 6th game with 5 threes this year. Trevor, just how did that happen? How did they let him get loose so early?
Yeah, it really started out early, as you said. He started off 4 for 4 from deep. He kind of slowed off there, so that 23 points was a little deceiving. He had, I think, 16 at halftime, so he kind of slowed off in the second half. But definitely, they started off. They were a little loose on him. He took a little heat check, and you can't let Chaz Lanier get hot because he's really been slow these past few games. Vanderbilt, he kind of got it a little on, but this game, really, he showed back up to the early season form and definitely did wonders for that offense.
I mean, this is a game that when Mississippi State is now in a tough spot. They've lost 3 of 4. Their only win is that Egg Bowl win in overtime that they really had a bunch of chances to lose as well. So this was a struggling Mississippi State team coming in that was looking for a big statement win, and the game is over. Like 3 minutes in, it was 12-4. Mississippi State was down like 22-9 at like the 5-minute mark of the first half. Tennessee's defense completely stifled Mississippi State. I'm starting to get like fraud vibes from the Mississippi State offense, honestly. Were you getting those tonight?
Yeah, I think it runs a lot through Josh Hubbard, and he has really been slow these last few games. He had 2 makes in the previous 2 games. He made, I think, 5 tonight, but still, he's kind of one of those shot-chucking guards, and when their offense runs through him and he's not efficient, it really struggles. And there was no getting through Tennessee's defense tonight, which was kind of a surprise with how Vanderbilt kind of manhandled it on Saturday.
What was the big change for Tennessee defensively? Was it an intensity thing, or did it look like they were doing something differently out there?
Honestly, it was the communication. They said it after the Vanderbilt game. It was talked to Igor Milicic after the game. He had Charlotte transfer, so came from a smaller school, ended up at a bigger school. First time playing in a big SEC environment with students back on campus, and he said it straight up. He said it was loud. Memorial Gymnasium, Memorial Magic all weekend. it was certainly loud in there. Even if it was a 50-50 crowd, it was a real SEC crowd in Memorial Gymnasium. And so being back at home really helped the communication on the defensive side. And they were really sticking to assignments and definitely felt a lot better being back at home because honestly, the SEC road games, complete gauntlet. I'd be surprised how many teams really end up over 500 in SEC play based on home and road games.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Josh Hubbard in this game, 5 for 16 from the field. Claudell Harris in this game, 2 for 6. Just not getting enough from their guards. And Mississippi State, we've talked all year about how important their guards are, Jonathan. We've talked all year about this Mississippi State backcourt and how they're kind of I when they were 13-1, 14-1, I called them SEC Iowa State. Like, okay, they're not there yet. They're not there yet. But I do still see the logical evolution of the program to getting there. It's just that I think they need to get guards that can bring it on both ends every night. Because right now you're looking at, if Josh Hubbard isn't shooting the ball well, if he isn't scoring, yeah, he's still going to have his gravity, and that's a huge deal. But I mean, Tennessee's guards can have their way offensively with this backcourt, and that's how you get things like Lanier and Meshack having a good game, and Ziegler he didn't even score a ton, but the game came really easily to Tennessee today. It just felt like there was no resistance.
Josh Hubbard is not a great passer. He is a fine one.
He is a passer out of necessity.
When he is not making shots, Mississippi State is going to struggle. Like, his usage rate is not like super high, compared to last year. He does still take a lot of shots though, and you have guys like Claudell Harris that have come in to try to balance the scales, but it's really hard to play your offense through a 5'10", 5'11" guard who exclusively scores. It's even harder to do that when Zakai Ziegler's not in foul trouble and he can come out and pressure you for 37 minutes. Like,
yeah,
I don't think
it's the best matchup in the country for Zakai Ziegler.
I don't think people entirely realize that Zakai Ziegler not only will come out and pick you up for 90 feet. He does it for in close games. He'll do it for 38 minutes. He's the best is he the best on-ball defender in the country? Yeah, I'm not even sure it's super close. I'm sure I'm blanking on some off the top of my head, but he'll do it for 38 minutes. He doesn't get tired. He's one of the best conditioned players in the entire country. So this was just a very poor matchup for Miss State, and we think we saw it right from the jump.
Yeah, I believe he had 5 steals tonight, and 2 of them came on back-to-back possessions. He just went up from behind, pickpocketed it, had a nice reverse layup on the first one. The second one, tried a little heat check 3 and it missed, but I'm pretty sure it drew a foul right after. But just being able to guard on the ball and then get behind them when they get past him, he is a master at pushing it away.
Yeah, I mean, Zakai is it's so funny watching Zakai and then watching his brother play. They could not be more different types of players. One of them is this 5'9" ball hounding point guard. The other is this 6'4" athletic combo guard. Where does that come from? I love it.
If Zakai Ziegler was 6'4", he would be the best player in the country by far.
Dude, if Zakai Ziegler was 6'4", he would have been drafted 3 years ago. Whenever Armani does a cool dunk, I will always mention in our Mac chat, Zakai's getting a text tonight that's saying, "You can't do this, big bro." But yeah, just it's unfair to have him and to have Jemai Meshack, who might be the best wing defender in the sport. Yeah. Or best combo guard wing defender. There's wing defenders at 6'7" that I would take over him, but pound for pound, Jemai Meshack and Zakai Ziegler is the best defensive duo in the sport.
One of the
and that's really impressive.
Of SEC play has really been Felix Akpara in the middle now. He's always been that defensive rim protector, and really in SEC play, he's been as solid as they come. He was very iffy against Vanderbilt, kind of a little soft to say, but definitely today he really stepped it up, and 12 rebounds. It was a season high, I believe, for him, and a team high. Had 9 points, but he hit a 3-pointer today, and that honestly changed the game.
Yeah, first made 3 of his season. First made 3 since. All right, Jonathan, trivia time. What team did Ohio State play as in Felix's freshman year that he had a 3-pointer against? It was December 3rd. He was Ken Pom MVP. They won 96-59.
Cleveland State.
Not even the correct colors. Trevor, you know this?
Yep.
Oh, you must have wrote it. You must
Yep.
have wrote it. Do you know the team's nickname? The Red Flash of St. Francis. Shout out Rob Krimmel. But yeah, moving on from St. Francis discussions, because we don't need to talk about the
Those
NEC.
are always popular on these shows.
I can talk about the NEC whenever you want me to.
Please don't.
Yep. Biggest game of maybe the entire college basketball season so far is coming up on Saturday. Trevor, will you be there on the place?
I will be. I just actually got the email about 2 hours ago that we got approved a credential, so we'll be headed down Saturday morning.
All sorts of credentials getting approved today.
I heard a big one up in Atlantic City.
That is the second straight. You are the second straight guest to say the words Atlantic City. We do not need this on the podcast right now. Anyway, Trevor, what are you expecting from that game? First of all, if Janai Broome doesn't play, which is the assumption that I'm under right now, and then if he miraculously healed, what would be your expectation then? So start with no Broome, then go into Broome.
Both ways, I can't see Tennessee winning in this one. For one, Neville Arena, I will say it is probably the best atmosphere in college basketball, and Tennessee against Bruce Pearl.
There are some people in Lawrence and in West Lafayette that would really come after you for that. I think it's the best atmosphere in the SEC. I'll give you that.
Definitely at the SEC. It's definitely in the top.
It's that and Rupp in the SEC right now.
Yeah, and Tennessee has really struggled against Bruce Pearl in Neville, and so I just really can't see it.
I forgot that it's Tennessee versus Bruce Pearl too.
Yep, plenty of storylines in this game, and really both ways, Broome plays or not, I don't think it'll make a difference. Tennessee already has lost 2 road games. That Florida game was ugly. Vanderbilt was ugly until the final 5 minutes or so. Yeah, I really can't see a win for Tennessee in that game, but it'll certainly be a great atmosphere. I'm excited to see what Auburn brings because I've only seen it through TV, and that's what makes me believe it's a good atmosphere, but being immersed in it will really get a better feel.
You will be in the presence of one Cole Adams as well.
I saw on my timeline that he will be in attendance as well, so interested to see that one.
Yeah, Jonathan, anything else to add about the Tennessee Volunteers and the Auburn Tigers on Saturday? Well, we will pod on Friday to preview that game, maybe just entirely that game, because it's just that big of a game. But there's also Houston, Kansas on Friday. There's Texas A&M, Texas. There's Kentucky. There's a lot of. We'll pod on Friday. Wait, no, I have Lemoyne Central Connecticut on Friday. We'll pod after Lemoyne Central Connecticut.
I think Tennessee has a better chance if Broome doesn't play. I think Tennessee has a real shot because I think their 3-point defense is no fluke. I know there's a lot of variance in teams making threes and missing threes against you, but Tennessee is like legit at actually getting out and recovering and pressuring the ball and forcing teams into taking tough threes. Auburn makes tough threes, so like it may not matter, but I'll get like without Broome, Tennessee has I wouldn't say a great chance. You know, they'll be a 4-point underdog without Broome, probably closer to 6-7 if Broome plays. But
just a reminder,
I do think this is a decent matchup for Tennessee, and they can go in there and compete.
Just a reminder that Auburn is the only team in college basketball history to be ranked number 1 and have a fight on an airplane in the same season. All right, Trevor, thank you so much for joining us. Speaking of airplanes and flying, the Dayton Flyers picked up a big win tonight in Pittsburgh. Jack, that was a horrible segue. Welcome to the show, Jack Morgan, who has been presumably drinking his sorrows away now that he's 21 years old.
Actually, I have not been today. Only just a little bit of Gatorade. Because thing is, I've actually started getting into a little bit of a better sleep schedule where I'm not going to bed at 2 a.m. And drinking right now would probably be a bad idea. However, there was a part of me.
It would not probably be a bad idea. It would most absolutely be a bad idea. But
I thought about this around like 10
not even the
o'clock.
Duquesne performance today. The Dayton performance today. What an
They didn't
incredible!
miss.
Just they came out with all the energy. 25 assists as a team. Shot 58% of the field. It was a 30-point game in the second half. Duquesne led for 0 minutes and 0 seconds.
Listen, I mean, Dayton played about as good of a game as you could. Their defense, and I saw the whole thing. I did read, ironically, before the game, Tristan Freeman wrote an article and said that Duquesne has to take advantage of what, without Deron Holmes this year, is a less than stellar defense for Dayton. And also added that Jayshawn Corbett would have to play a big role, given that, Santos guarding him inside. It looked like Corbett was going to have an advantage. No, absolutely not. Dayton locked up inside. Duquesne was shooting a lot of three-pointers in this game. And yeah, I mean, they made a decent amount of them in the first half. Pretty sure they had 6 through the end of the first half. They just could not get any looks inside. Dayton played great defense in that game. That was one of the more surprising takeaways I got from it. I just thought Duquesne's offense was very limited. And Kareem Rozier literally said, and I didn't think I'd really resonate with it, but they didn't have the juices tonight. I mean, there was just no juice at all, and give a lot of credit to Dayton.
Come out with the
they
juice
balled out
for your biggest home game of the year. You're against one of your big
rivals. I think there might
rivals
have been a little
when you're 4-1 in the conference. How do you not come out for that?
I think there might have been a little bit of a hangover in some sense from St. Bonaventure. Not an excuse by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, you could just feel the disappointment in the arena, on the bench, on the court with the players. It just did not feel like it was ever Duquesne's game to win, and that's just not really. That doesn't really work for Duquesne. I mean, yeah, you get to play him again, but that's going to come. It's going to come in Dayton. That's going to be a tough game. I really thought they had a chance to make a big statement tonight, and they fell flat on their face.
Yeah, I mean, I loaded this game up. It was like 9-9 when I loaded it up. I was ready to lock in. I was ready to lock it in. It was going to be the big game on my computer screen. I had the four games on my TV and that game on my computer. And I just never looked over at my computer the rest of the night. I didn't have to.
There's no need to. Yeah.
It was just what got fixed for Duquesne during that stretch where they went from 2-8 to 9-9, and what came undone tonight for that?
You know what? And that's a great question because it's literally it felt like you reverted back to the old ways. Now Duquesne obviously had the rough start, and I actually was about to write an article on it, and I'm scrapping it. Rebounding. It felt like the rebounding was just not there tonight. And it just felt like Dayton, not by a wide margin, but Duquesne had been pretty solidly controlling the glass on both ends during their winning streak. Not so much tonight. Free throws. It felt like every time I looked over, they were missing a free throw. And when they're missing free throws, they're losing games to start the season. And it's more of a bland or more of a broad subject, but the offense, I mean, yeah, we can give credit to Dayton for the great defensive clinic they put on tonight on Duquesne, but it just felt like in the first half, it felt like those early non-conference games where they just could not get anything going offensively. And obviously, I think Duquesne, we also got to remember they don't have Jake DeMichael. And yes, they've been playing well without him, But man, it just
but like
would
Dayton
help
doesn't have
so much
Josh
having him
or
out there.
Zed
That was part of the problem. Yeah, the fact that they didn't have either of those two, and Duquesne still couldn't get anything going, still couldn't stay in this game at all.
I also I do
Really
want to
challenging.
talk about Amel Latang because this is the guy who had the game winner, never stopped running, goes down the court, catches the alley-oop game winner against Loyola on
That was
Saturday.
awesome.
That was an incredible game. And then today goes to Duquesne, puts up a career high 16. It feels like he's really coming into stride as Dayton. Maybe a little, maybe like 2 or 3 games too late for Dayton, but for their at-large hopes, because the loss to
It ought to be
UMass,
tough.
loss to
That was a
UMass
killer.
and GW make that tough. I know that they don't. I know that they have the Marquette win, they have the UConn win. The Northwestern win is aging fine. The New Mexico State win could age pretty well if they keep playing as well as they are in CUSA. They need that to get up to, I think. I mean, no, that's a home game. That won't get up to quad 2. They would need to get up to 75. But Dayton just not going to have the resume at this point. But Amel Latang could be a huge factor in everything in the A10 going forward. What did you see from him tonight?
I really think he controlled inside, and even from the outside, he was popping some threes. I remember he made a pretty back-breaking 3 at one point in the second half. I think it's really ironic. Let me first preface this. Obviously, being in Pittsburgh, there's a guy that goes by the name of Chris Letang, and all I heard people say was Letang and not Latong, and I'm like, I feel like I'm the only one who knows that here. Regardless, it was really funny to see Letang of some sorts put a beating on a Pittsburgh team, which felt really ironic. But as a Flyers fan,
Chris
I know the
Letang,
feeling.
one of the more underrated defenders of the 2010s. Shout out Chris Letang.
Ironically, one of Andrew's favorite, my brother's favorite players of all time.
Well,
So,
yeah, when
I know a
when
thing
you
or
grow up
two.
a Penguins fan in the 2010s and you play D in hockey, it's going to be one of your favorite players.
He's number 58 for a reason. For that reason.
Oh, I never put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever done. How did I not? That is the most obvious thing in the history of society.
Oh yeah. No, that is why. But he played a great game tonight. And I've been peeking in on Dayton games. I haven't been as good with. I'll tell you what, I think Dayton I've been pretty solid with. George Mason team I do need to watch more, but that's beside the
Yeah,
point.
and
There's been a couple of teams
I
I've been
wanted to
bad
get
with
into that
watching.
with you quickly. Just kind of lap
Yes.
around the A10. George Mason goes to the Riley Center, picks up a big win. The Patriots. This post has been fact checked by true American Patriots. The Patriots are 6-1. They started the season 2-3. Since the 2 overtime loss to East Carolina where's East Carolina?
Greenville.
Correct. I was asking Jack.
I watch enough college baseball to know that.
Dude, I don't. I'll be honest.
Since that game, George Mason is 13-2. Their only losses are, Jonathan?
Duke is one of them.
And Rhode Island.
Yes.
Both on the road. Rhode Island by 3.
I don't know why I was trying to think of the A10 team first before I said Duke.
Tonight, George Mason is now 22nd nationally in defense. Jonathan, we knew this would be a defensive team. We knew this would be a defensive team when they brought in Katie Johnson, because you have Katie Johnson, Jared Billups, Woody Newton, Jalen Haynes, Gio Emejeru, and then you bring in a guy like Braden O'Connor who can do it on both ends. I just think this team is built defensively to last. I don't know if there's enough on the offensive end. Jack, I know you said you haven't watched a ton of them, and I know St. Bonaventure is shorthanded tonight. DeSante Bowen is still out. Hopefully they get him back soon. I know that they've been waiting on him. Chance Moore was out tonight, so Noah Belanga got the start. Dwayne Thompson played 21 minutes. He actually played well, but Melvin Council can't do it all. Lave Jones did not have his best day today. Just they couldn't get him looks, and Jonah Hinton missed a lot of shots. So St. Bonaventure now 15-5. They've lost 4 of 5 since the 14-1 start. Since I wrote that article about them, I guess I cursed him.
Oh,
But
I'm
just
happy about it.
one more thing in the A10. Davidson's 2-4. I really don't want to do this, Jonathan, but this is year 3 of Matt McKillop. They went 8-10 his first year with with a decent amount with Foster Lawyer, Sam Menenga, Grant Huffman, back from that team that made the NCAA tournament. Last year they went 5-13 with a bunch of guys back too. This year I had I thought it was gonna go. I thought it was gonna work out. A lot of guys back. Zach Lappett comes in. Lofnane gets some more minutes. Blums and Koval's redshirting. And they're
which is insane, by the way, because they turn it over a ridiculous amount.
No, they don't.
Or sorry, they don't turn anyone over. I misread that.
It's Davidson. They're not going to turn it. They're not going to turn it over.
No, you're right.
There's no
Fundamental.
element of toughness. Then they can't win up games. Like they just can't win up games because they don't have any element of toughness. They're not good enough in that element that they've been over the past couple of years. I
think Corbett
the offense is just not as good as it was under Bob, and defensively, they're just a complete train wreck right now.
Corbett had like 29 against him. Even Duquesne killed him inside.
I don't want to say it's time for Matt McKillop, but like my eyes are on Matt McKillop right now because this has not gone according to plan. And they were about to move to 3-1. They were up double digits on LaSalle not long ago. They blew that game completely. They go to Rhode Island, they lose. They blew a double-digit lead. Today against St. Joe's, they didn't lead. They were down 20 in this game. They got blown out. It was over from the start. They go to Richmond on Saturday. They're probably going to win that. If they don't, that's 4 losses in a row. Again, I don't think McKillop's on the hot seat. I don't. And I don't think he really – I'm not sure he should be. But
yeah.
I just feel like we need to reframe the conversation of what Davidson basketball has become right now and then go from there. Davidson struggling right now, and I was thinking highly of him at one point this year, but not looking good right now. St. Joe's moves to 3-3, bouncing back. VCU just demolished Rhode Island.
Yeah, that game ended up being close at one point towards the end of the first half, and it just exploded.
Yeah, I mean, VCU is the best team in the conference. It's not particularly close right now. George Mason probably second.
Yeah,
maybe St. Louis.
Yeah, man, they've been playing really well.
All right, Jack. Thank you so much for joining us. Anything else to add?
No, thanks for having me on, boys. Have a good night.
Jonathan, lecture.
Good stuff.
Quickly.
Yes.
Just very rapid fire stuff before we get out of here. UConn deserved to lose that game against Butler tonight. Shout out Arizona State for a big road win at West Virginia without Josan Sannon. Jaden Quaintance was awesome. Jaden Quaintance is awesome. That might be one of the best players in the country that we don't talk enough about on the podcast. Jaden Quaintance, reclass freshman. He's got to be averaging like 12 and 8.
No, he's been excellent.
He's averaging 10 and 8, and he's one of the best defenders in the sport. 3.2 blocks per game.
And he can't enter the draft. Remember that. He has to play another year. Now, if that's going to be at Arizona State, like, who knows? But like,
shout out Louisville. Louisville, who is now up to 23 in KenPom. They are creeping up to those Kentucky Wildcats, Jonathan. They're only 4 spots in KenPom behind Kentucky.
Oh boy.
It's a fun year of basketball in Bluegrass State. 98-73 win, 1.46 points per possession. Rain Smith hit 10 threes. They hit 19 as a team. I think Louisville's awesome. You said if Duke played Louisville 2 weeks later, they were lost.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a possibility. That team's just humming right now.
UCLA got that win over Wisconsin. Adem Mara had his career best game, 22 points and 5 rebounds. He was 7 for 7 from the field. That is
breakout is slowly coming. I follow, a lot of beat writers, and the UCLA ones have been, kind of calling for more Mara.
Minnesota upset Iowa. Seton Hall got blown out at home by Marquette. That's kind of par for the course at this point for that program. Iowa State dropped 108. I didn't even see this. Josh Jefferson had 30, 7, 5, and 4. It's pretty good. They were 31 of 49 inside the arc. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Mustafa Thiam, what were you doing?
Well, certainly not playing at a, fake prep school.
Yaxel Lendeborg had 24, 14, 7, and 3 tonight. They beat UTSA. Yeah. I think that's all I got. Jonathan, you want to take us home?
Any Dan Hurley thoughts before we? I mean,
no.
You mentioned Ohio State, right?
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, that was a notable one.
That was a shocker. Bruce Thornton had the best trap escape I've seen all year in this game.
I had no chance to watch any of this.
I will clip this for you. It was the best trap escape I've seen all year. He passed it to Junie Mobley. But Mobley had a big shot. Parrish had a big game. TKR had a big game. It didn't really matter. Ohio State, big Ohio State win. They just hit shots. All right, Jonathan.
We had real quick before we go. We had a huge game in the Valley tonight. Bradley goes to Belmont, goes to Nashville, wins 89-77, pulls away in the second half. Christian Davis had 19. Bradley is now 17-3 on the year. That's
shout out Brian Wardle for proving me wrong.
I'm not going to say that they're as good as last year's team was, because that's a pretty high bar. And last year's team was terrific. But, the way this team has played over the last couple weeks has just been tremendous. They're still the only team in the Valley with one loss. Drake, obviously, 6-2. Belmont now 6-3. Northern Iowa 6-3 as well. And shout out, to UIC, who's still continued to play well. Illinois State, I'm hoping it's turning a corner and getting to where I thought they would be. But they got a little way to go still.
All right, Jonathan, take us home.
If you came to hear about Tyler Self and where he worked, you came to the right place. If you came to see Grant Salzman's first ever appearance, for a content standpoint, a legit content standpoint, on Brackets, Bubbles, and Pitchers, you came to the right place, and you came to hear about the latest happenings with Caleb Grill,
which we're not good tonight.
You came to the right place.
We're not good tonight.
Grant comes on to talk about Mizzou. We don't say his name one time. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. This has been Season 5, Episode 53 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bed Stealers, and we will see you, hopefully, Friday.